incident, which turned into something quite, let's just say it's all gone a bit crazy in that department. And for some reason, I couldn't replay the video. So instead, I stumbled on something Greg Foreman posted on the Black Conservative Perspective channel. And as a matter of fact, as you know, we're in the run-up to the presidential race for the Whitehouse, and it's been full on in the trenches, brutal back and forths, and the usual sort of thing, tearing strips off of one another. They had the big debate day ago, and in that, in as far as that's concerned, I think it was more on Kamala. I think it's more about Kamala presenting herself to the electorate and actually, without her wingman, doing an interview with the press, which, you know, she's done some kind of interview things, but I don't think she's really surfaced up until this point. And this is the big debate. You know, there's two things. I think one, she had to do a better job than Biden. The bar was lowered. She was in a friendly space. And, yeah, she just didn't have to fail. And that, I think, she managed to attain. So, moving swiftly on, I stumbled on this video that Greg Foreman had just posted. And it was a breath of fresh air.
You said it before. I went to a Donald Trump rally when I was campaigning in New Hampshire back in the winter of 23.
Yeah.
What I mean by breath of fresh air is like there's been so much brutal, you know, gladiatorial behavior going on between Trump and the Harris, you could almost call them armies. And I heard something in this interview. I just watched the beginning, and the interviewer asked Trump a regular question, and it felt as though somebody just screened the curtains and the sun had come out just to hear a question, a conversation that wasn't just, you know, policy or beating up on the other side, just a normal, ordinary question. And it gave me the sense of Trump, at least, like he's thinking forward, like, you know, and some of the press that do get to ask him normal questions, thinking forward, like, what will happen if you get into the White House? Who are you going to bring in? And it just seemed like an ordinary question, a trivial thing, but felt like a breath of fresh air. So let's have a look at this and see what you think.
And I was met with handshakes and friendship and hospitality and decency.
Yeah, because you should be a Republican.
I should be a Republican.
I read that Elon Musk said that he would accept a position in your cabinet. Would that have to do with artificial intelligence?
Now, wouldn't that be interesting?
If
so Elon
you chose
and
him?
As a matter of fact, if Trump did get in again, I'm actually curious as to who might he bring into his administration outside of the, you know, usual sort of suspects, the people who are, you know, around him currently, and the people who might be expected to gain positions. You know, who are the surprise candidates going to be if he brings in somebody completely unexpected that could do some good? That would be interesting.
Have a great relationship. He's great. He is a totally unusual character. Do you know Elon at all?
I don't.
He's great. And he's smart. And we have to cherish our geniuses. You know, we don't have too many of them, right? But he is a brilliant guy. And what he really would like to do is get involved in cutting some of the fat. And he does know how to do it. And he loves the country. You know, it's just an amazing thing. We had a conversation the other day. You would know better than me, but I hear it had hundreds of millions of people. I heard it had the biggest audience that there's ever been. I mean, would you say that's a correct statement?
I would absolutely say
There's
that's
never been
correct.
anything even close. I heard 750 million people. I mean, numbers that are crazy. And Yeah, he wants to be involved. Now, look, he's running big businesses and all that, so he can't really, I don't think he'd be for cabinet. I'd put him in the cabinet, absolutely, but I don't know how he could do that with all the things he's got going. But he can sort of, as the expression goes, consult with the country and give you some very good ideas. Like on
If
AI,
Trump
there's nobody.
added Elon Musk to the cabinet, I think the shape of American politics would really take a shift, and maybe in a positive way.
He knows more about it than Elon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, big thing. And he said it's very important. I mean, it's very important for the country. If we don't do it, China's going to do it, or somebody else, but most likely China. And China is working right now to develop massive electricity, a flood of electricity, a massive flood of electricity. And we don't, because we have people that they're not even thinking about that.
Yeah.
And we have to win this election. This election is November 5th will be the most important day, in my opinion, in the history of our country. Because if our country goes...
Trust me, whoever wins, America is going to change drastically. And if they change, we in Europe change. Their policies determine to a large extent our policies. And what affects us in Europe is also going to affect the other countries around the globe. And from that point of view, we're all affected.
The wrong way with this election, I think this country is doomed.
Guys, I gotta tell you,
Strong
I am
words.
feeling something special in the air, okay? I am feeling like the America First
Now that's how I felt.
movement is about to get taken to a whole new level. And one of the reasons why I feel this way is because Trump is doing something very different than what he did in 2016. This is something I've talked about quite a bit on this channel, maybe a few years ago, okay? Because a lot of people criticize Trump for the personnel decisions that he made back in 2016 when he first was elected. Like, for example, filling his cabinet with neocons like John Bolton and others, okay? But people got to understand that Trump is not a politician, right? I mean, he made no politicians because he's probably bought and sold politicians like a lot of billionaires tend to do. But he, for the most part, wasn't a Washington guy, right? So I can understand why Trump did not complete the mission of draining the swamp.
Now, Trump, when he's not just in fight mode, from time to time, his vision has got some very, I think, positive elements to it. Now, obviously, that's open to debate. That's what I've been thinking.
And ridding the corruption out of Washington, which I'm not even sure if it's entirely possible to do that. But I think the reason why he didn't get it done the way he should have gotten it done is because he was being misled by the establishment Republican Party, right? He relied too much on the neocons and the establishment Republicans to put people in important places that weren't necessarily in line with the America First agenda. And this is a mistake that Trump has admitted that, hey, yeah, I made this mistake, but I'm going to fix this mistake in my next administration.
I didn't really know anybody in Washington. I was a New York person. I wasn't like a Washington, D.C. person. And all of a sudden I'm pressed.
I mean, anytime you hear a politician in a reflective mode, I just think it's something to be cherished while it lasts.
And I'm driving down Pennsylvania Avenue with more police and motorcycles and military than I've ever seen before in my life. I said to my wife, do you believe this? A precedent. But I didn't know anybody in Washington. And I had to rely on people to give me names. And many were really good. I mean, Bob Lighthizer, I had great trade people. I had some great people. But I also picked people that, in retrospect, I wouldn't have picked. But now I know the smart ones, the dumb ones, the weak ones, the solid ones, the ones like you. I know the people. I know everybody, sort of like everybody. And we're going to have a great government. I didn't know. I had to rely on people I'd ask, I don't want to use names because I don't want to embarrass. They're not bad people, but I'd ask people that were rhinos Who do you recommend for such and such a position? All important positions. And they'd recommend some people that were rhinos or something, or weak or not good.
Yeah, so as you guys can see, Trump is admitting that, hey, I made a mistake, which is something that is kind of rare for Trump, right? That's what a lot of people criticize Trump for, is not admitting when he made a mistake. But he's actually admitting that, yeah, I made some mistakes in regards to personnel decisions in my first administration. And it looks as if he's serious.
Now, this might seem like a small thing, but from what I tend to see of American and European politics, global as a matter of fact, you rarely ever hear any of these leaders admit fault. Maybe because it's generally seen as a weakness. I think anytime you catch a moment like that, there's something potentially good going on.
About making some changes in his next administration and picking more wisely in regards to who he surrounds himself with. Okay, and RFK just did an interview with Tucker in which he makes a major announcement about how he's been asked to be a part of the transition team to help Trump with his picks.
Now, I think if Trump did get in again, and some of these names that have been mentioned, Musk, RFK, this would be a once-in-a-lifetime administration. It might just be talk at this stage, and who knows what's going to happen in November, but my word, this to me is more positive sounding than the previous weeks and few months of just trenches, battleground, back and forth, seeing who can be the most bloody then in the political battle arena. I like this kind of talk. Much more positive.
To help run the government in his next administration.
Corrupts the whole enterprise. So where...
Because end of the day, that's what they're supposed to be doing, running a government on behalf of the people and trying to make some things that probably can never fully be fixed, just be a little bit better and improved rather than just beating up on each other.
My last question, what happens now? You had this kind of amazing announcement with Donald Trump on Friday. It's now Monday, I think, which is 3 days ago. How do you spend from here until Election Day?
I'm going to work to get him elected. And I'm working with the camp.
For me, RFK was a big surprise. I understand, why he endorsed Trump and the problems he was having with his own party, trying to get him to stand aside so that more of the support will go to Biden, I guess in theory. Although for the party that's always preaching and lecturing everyone on democracy and, defending democracy and all the rest, it just doesn't seem like a very democratic move to deprive the voters, the electorate, of the opportunity to choose how they want to cast their vote. Meaning if you got a candidate like RFK, regardless of the pedigree of his, family name and legacy, if he wants to stand as a democratic potential candidate and allow the party to vote him in, even if, it was a foregone conclusion at the time that Biden was going to be the pick, at least they could have allowed people to go through the process and go through the motions. And secondly, the fact that he decided to try and work as an independent, and they used the judicial system to snatch that away from him. Yeah, it makes sense, why he would make himself available to the Trump campaign.
Hey, and we're working on policy issues together.
One night, after staying back late at his clinic doing admin, Dr. Tom was very...
I've been asked to go onto the transition team and, to help pick the people who will be running the government. And I'm looking forward to that. And
so again, this is a huge announcement because it signals that Trump is saying, you know what, I'm going to bring in some other people who are basically anti-establishment that just led me astray in my first administration in regards to accomplishing the things I wanted to get done, right? Never forget, it was the establishment Republicans that basically worked with Democrats in order to prevent Trump from getting the wall built the way that it should have been built, okay? They fought Trump tooth and nail on the wall, okay? So people can't forget these things. And as this new coalition forms, okay, of ex-Democrat, libertarians.
Funny set of circumstances when you think about it. You know, Biden administration used executive authority to to basically shut down a lot of the policies that Trump had brought in. And now towards the end of the whole thing, they've ended up adopting a fair few of them.
Conservatives, right? People from across the spectrum, classical liberals. It's not about what we disagree on. It's about what we agree on. What are the core problems? What are the core issues? What are the core policies that we can all get together and agree on that we can?
Look, I'm over here in London, no skin in the game. As a mere observer, I can't disagree with what Greg has to say.
Work towards solving during this next Trump administration. And that is what this unity coalition is all about.
And, you know, President Trump, to his credit, put out a hand, shook his hand and said, let's do this. Let's engage on ideas that matter. Let's engage on policies that matter. We don't have to agree on everything. This is not us being absorbed into the Trump camp by any measure. This is a partnership. This is a meeting of the...
You see, this is where people from two completely different sides can get together and work together if their real aim is the betterment of the country they reside in and oversee as politicians.
Minds with strong boundaries and expectations.
What are the boundaries?
Well, I think the thing is we don't overlap perfectly, but we do overlap on 5 key things, and we got to stick to those 5 key things. That is free speech, very important. Anti-war, ending these endless wars we're in overseas, putting that money back into America, putting Americans first, really trying to figure out how to create stability in our foreign policy.
I'm sure many Americans will agree with that last point.
Chronic health, obviously, this is the biggest one. We want family
health and family, they're global.
To know that they are going to be met with credible health care, honest health care, and no more censorship. That's a really, really big one. So as long as we stay within these core principles of this coalition, we're going to do great things, and I have great optimism.
2 concerns. One is just, something to note. The other one is something to chew on for the rest of our time. There's something to note is, the Republicans aren't talking about it now, but they always had as a signature move when it comes to health care, removing the ACA in favor of basically nothing. Right now, they've gotten quiet about it because it's become so unpopular as people have gotten more and more access to health care. But I don't know that Trump is anywhere near what Bobby and I have spoken about when it comes to access to health care and stuff. They want to privatize it in a way that is not necessarily going to be good for regular families. Give me a quick take on that.
Well, you know what we do agree on? We agree on farming. We agree on fresh food. We agree on clean water. We agree on...
I mean, what I like about this video so far is just the fact that there's more positivity, and it's not the delusional type where 1,000,001 things are being promised that will never actually come to fruition. Just like realistic discussion about how one group of people can get together with another group of people and try and do something to benefit the whole.
school choice. We agree on the power of sunshine and getting kids outside being kids. And, you know, I guarantee you, Chris, that if we focus on just cleaning up our food supply, we're going to need a lot less dollars, especially government dollars, dedicated to healthcare.
I'm with you.
$4.6 trillion right now.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love that answer so much because I think it really...
Oh, man. This makes such a change from just the boxing ring and all of that, you know, fakery and one side being stacked against the other and flip-flopping and saying one thing to one group and another to another. Just hearing a normal, positive sounding discussion, which I think is at the core of what politics and democracy is supposed to be about, in theory.
Shows you guys what I'm talking about when I say, listen, we don't have to agree on everything, right? We don't have to agree on whether or not the United States should have socialized medicine, right? Because I personally don't want to pay for everybody else's healthcare, these progressive leftists who want to be fat and unhealthy, right? I really don't want to pay for that healthcare.
Look, we've had the NHS, which is a phenomenal, fantastic thing, concept and idea in theory and practice. We've had that for over 100 years, but trust me, if you keep abreast of UK politics and the news in general, I've worked in the NHS, it's no easy task to keep that thing going. And if you scale up to the size of America, if they were trying to, move in that direction, it's something that won't happen on a fast track. I don't believe so.
Okay, we don't have to agree on it. Okay, but what we can agree on is that, hey, maybe we shouldn't have a sick care system. Maybe we should have a preventative care system where we prevent people from getting so sick in the first place. Okay, these chronic diseases are relatively...
I've noticed this, we're in the digital era. We left the analog era, pen and paper, it moved to the computer screen, and now we're in the AI period. There are going to be some new ideas coming along, within the culture, society, the political arena, and some of them may sound kind of unusual initially. 10, 20, 30 years from now, to the generations who are coming up now, that stuff is going to just be normal. So I guess for those of us who overlap from a previous period, analog to digital, there's going to be some sort of adjusting our hearing as the braver and more balanced thinkers amongst us put forward some of these useful ideas.
Because it is a product of the environment that has been created as our society has become more modern.
So we're coming, I think, from a era of curing things, fixing things, to, I guess, preventative medicine. How can you not have the problem arise in the first place? So that is a gradual, real shift in how things are approached. I think we're still in the repair, patch up, kind of a way of doing healthcare. Although on the bright side, I think there's something else coming around the corner that may take some getting used to. It will potentially bring forward better results on the masses overall.
Okay, with more processed foods and things like that. That has caused Americans to live unhealthy lifestyles and to be obese, and along with that comes a lot of these
choices we make that eventually affect our health, that force us towards healthcare, as opposed to can we maybe own some of those decisions and treat ourselves in a preventatory way before we have to reach out and burden our own pockets and the states for cures for these things?
problems that have strained the system, okay? And for all those people that want taxpayers to collectively pay for everybody's health care, people who are not seniors, your argument might hold more weight if you actually took care of yourself, right? If you weren't fat and out of shape, okay, and disproportionately taking up the resources, then who knows, maybe that socialized medicine would be more affordable, okay? But as it stands right now, it's not affordable. So what matters is that, what can you do to try to bring down costs for everybody and to make this country healthy again? Okay, what you can do is to deal with the core issues, the corruption that we have in big pharma, in agriculture, that is contributing to the problem. And maybe that is the middle ground that we can all agree on and work towards the ultimate goal of.
Okay, that's an angle that I haven't yet considered. It's a very good point he brought up there.
Lowering the cost of healthcare for everybody. But it starts with preventing people from having to go to the hospital so much in the first place. Again, radical idea. Okay, radical idea. So
that's what I was just trying to express. I think where we're going now, when you move beyond the battling gladiatorial, the most powerful side gets to have the say and everyone else has to follow and obey. I think without having this utopian, unrealistic, fake sort of thing that sometimes politicians try to sell to the electorate, they, I think, at some point are going to be thinkers coming along with ideas like Greg has just put forward that could actually have a positive impact on everybody's quality of life and not just the most powerful groups.
What's happening with this coalition, guys, is that you have people that are now realizing that, listen, this is not a left versus right thing anymore.
Radical is the word I was looking for. He used it just in the correct way and at the right time.
Okay? This is not a Democrat versus Republican thing anymore. This is establishment versus anti-establishment. Pro-war versus anti-war. Capitalism versus communism.
It's like watching A Clockwork Orange. I'm like this, Vivek, watching what's coming out, whether it's raising the rate on corporate taxes or going up to, 45%, close to, on capital gains for certain individuals. It's a lot of populism, but most people that defend it say, she doesn't really mean it. It'll never happen.
Yeah, so that's the irony here, Joe. And first of all, I agree with my friends at the Washington Post who observed that if you don't want your opponent to tag you as a communist, then maybe your first policy should not be a bunch of price controls in the United States. We've seen price controls fail in every other major country that's tried it. Argentina, Venezuela, under Hugo Chavez, under Nicolas Maduro. The irony in Venezuela is that you actually saw undernourishment increase tenfold over the same period where they enacted price controls in the food industry, in the grocery industry. Yet that's exactly what they've proposed here. And I do think that the fact that this was her signature economic unveiling says a lot about where her vision actually is. To borrow Tim Walz's expression, Joe, if I may, it is just plain weird for them to focus even on the grocery sector if they were going to implement price controls, because this is a sector in which you look at the profit margins of Kroger or Albertsons. You're looking at 2%, 1% profit margins. I saw that interview that Elizabeth Warren did with you, and I respectfully disagree with her. But she even brought up examples like Kraft Heinz or Cal-Maine. The reality is their profit margins are lower today than they were in 2015 to 2016. So, yes, it is a just plain weird fixation.
America last versus America first. Lunacy versus common sense. And that is converting some people who are moderate, they're in the middle, maybe they're classically liberal, libertarian types, right? They're saying, okay, RFK has joined Trump. I like what I'm hearing. I like the fact that RFK is going to have some influence on Trump's administration. And hey, this might be the tipping point for me. I might just have to vote for Trump because the Democrat Party is way too radical.
Absolutely. Let me just be perfectly clear about this. I think the modern Democratic Party is an existential threat to the Republic. And although I am a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life, the party that I see in front of me today is literally the inverse of the party I signed up for. This is now the party of war. This is the party of racism. This is the party of censorship.
You know what?
I don't recognize this party.
I think overall this has been a good video. And yeah, it's kind of brought something positive into the mix for a change. And yeah, I would just like to...
This is a great thing, right? I'm actually getting goosebumps just thinking about it, okay? You talk about
see how it's wrapped
Trump,
up first.
Tulsi, Vivek Ramaswamy, RFK, Elon Musk, JD Vance, a whole bunch of other people as well, too, that are now on board with this new movement that is something that we've never seen in politics, okay? For as much as the left wants to talk about Kamala Harris and what's happened over there, there's nothing new happening with Kamala Harris, right? She's not really having an Obama moment, okay? It's completely manufactured. But what is happening right now with the America First movement is organic, okay? What you guys are saying is a realignment in American politics. This is something new, and I think that it's only going to get stronger moving forward into the future, and this is why. This is why we really have to win this election, because this is the start of the America First movement going to the next level, okay? The start of a movement that will return this country back to the core values that made this country great in the first place. And I am super excited about what's happening, guys. Everybody should be excited, because this is the greatest American comeback story that we've ever seen in this country's history. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Beats just being on the
Black Conservative
battlefield.
Perspective. Peace.
Yeah, well done. Well, you know what? I'd just like to say it's hard to keep positive sometimes when you got all of this battling going on. But there's always a pause for some peacetime activities between wars, you could say, even in the political arena. So yes, hope we've got one of them moments coming around before the end of the year. In the meantime, be good, be safe, be creative. Corner Speak, we out.